I feel superhuman.
So last year we went to the 7 Steps training, and I was just embarking on evolving the career that I already had started in 2012. So I was ordained as a minister in 1990, so I did a lot of my work volunteer and could not get out of my head the transition that it was okay to be paid for my work, because that is the constant interjection from a lot of spiritualists that you can't be paid for your work because that's God's work. And so I had to really unwind a lot of that teaching. That was really difficult. However, that 7-step process that everyone is learning, and then being able to make the steps go faster with the recording, was like a godsend for me. So from that point of learning this 7 steps, then it was a way that I could integrate with my students. And I understood that if I had to pay to learn a technique and then give exchange for value, just an exchange of energy, then I could use that sort of thinking to justify the same energy exchange between me and my clients. So then I didn't feel bad, because if I had to exchange energy, then it was okay for them to exchange energy. And in that process, I went from having 3 clients to 65 students.
Dang.
And each one would do a 30-day session with me. And in that process, they would come in either with the full price, or they could pay monthly, and then I gave them 90 days to pay the fee. The one student, which was the turning point for me, understanding that this was crucial, like I had to give my time to assist this process to not just building a business, but that I could be compensated, but that it was okay to be compensated. One of the young ladies that I assisted had been molested since she was 3 years old till she was 12. And then she tried to tell her parents, and her parents didn't believe her. It wasn't her parents that was doing it, it was someone in the family. And so she had the emotion caught in her body, and so she was taking all kinds of psychopathic drugs and then whatever else, because of her body just began to develop these ailments to cope with the feeling of not being believed. So she was in a home. Finally, at 17 years old, she's out of the home. She decides, or like a care facility, she decides to come back home. Parents still won't believe her, but the perpetrators are still in the house. So she decides to go on her own and get her job, and she was carrying 3 jobs just so that she could not live at home. So when I met her, she was really, just a frazzled, just a fragile soul. And she says it was her last ditch effort. And so I sat with her and shared with her the technique, the 7 steps. And we did it via the audio.
Yes.
And she began to feel the pain travel different places. Like Arnoux said, oh, I feel it here. Went from here, I feel it here. She could literally feel it going from the stomach to the chest to underneath the breast. Then it would go into her uterus. She could feel it, and then she would even feel it when it made her feel euphoria. And I videotaped it because it was our Zoom session, and you could see this transformation happening. So here's where this money part comes in. I was just helping the group, and so it was a very, 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 very minimal fee to come in. However, she couldn't afford it. So we broke her payment up at 3 sessions. And she was able to clear this molestation trauma. It took us an hour because of all the stuff that had come out. It was just constant. It almost sounded like chanting because she was literally pulling it all out. About an hour, 15 minutes. So let me just tell you what happened 3 days later. Parents call her unprovoked and say, we believe you. 24 hours from that, the person that was molesting her called and asked for forgiveness and wanted to go to the family and confess that he had done it. Then 48 hours from that, she became a death doula. But she didn't have the finances to complete the series for the class. And she was talking to just someone about what she was doing. And the person had been watching her on like her posts, because she would post different things on Facebook, had been watching her post these different things and how she was feeling. And how she says, I feel clear, I can breathe. So by this time, the person was so moved, and she says, well, now I want to be a death doula, and so I have a last class I'm about to take. The person got out their checkbook and wrote the check for her class, unprovoked. She calls me back and she says, what is this? Why is this happening? And I said, well, you cleared the vibration, so now the everything that you were pushing away because you wanted it, but there was something inside of you that was so painful, it was pushing it away. Now it can come to you without any, blockage. And so here's where this payment thing comes in. She missed her payment. And at first I just like, oh, well, she'll pay it. This is where this clearing thing had to happen for me. So when you help other people, you're still working through some of your stuff. So she missed another payment. And so I was like, oh, she missed a payment. And it's so minimal. So I went to her and I said, hey, sweetheart, your payment needs to be taken care of. And she was like, oh, I thought that was going to be all wiped away. And so then I realized, well, that was something in me that made her feel a specific sort of way. And I didn't know what it was. At that moment, I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was something in me that felt bad for charging her in this healing process, when really it was, this thing changed the rest of her life, and there was an exchange that needed to happen because there was this guilt that started coming on it. So she had stopped communicating with me. There was this guilt, and the guilt was because she hadn't paid. And so she was now carrying another type of energy. And so I realized that I needed to clear that out of my system so that I can give that person the opportunity to feel good, to be well, in exchange of energy. It's not even this thing we call money. It's just this current that we're riding in, that we call currency, but it's a current. And if we can get into that current, then we don't feel bad for whatever's happening in the current. Whatever's exchanged, whatever's brought to you, whatever is handed, whatever is shifted. And so whatever shift that is, it can look like tangerines in the bag, and then it can look like digital zeros, and then it can look like a ride or a check. And I realized that, and I had to clear that. When I cleared that thing, I had people referring people to me, saying, I heard you here, I helped someone, so. How much do I need? I'll figure it out. And that's how I started getting the client. Now it was, I'll figure out how I'm gonna pay it. I'll just figure it out. So in the process, how I did that was going to one of Arnoux's courses about money and the belief around money, my money story. So what he's about to share with you, I really encourage you to make the thought and the mind to clear whatever that blockage is that is connected to your money value or your energetic value, and realize it's just jumping into a current, and whatever that current is, you have to release whatever is keeping you from raising it to another frequency. And so those beliefs they're caught up in these stories that we don't even realize that circle around money. And so what he's about to share with you is definitely going to be very empowering, because it puts you on an other level, not another level, an other level of current activity so that you can receive.
Bravo. I'm so proud of you. Like she should be on TV or something. You know what I mean? She's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you for doing that great work, and congratulations on all your abundance. You deserve it.
For your free training on how to skyrocket energy levels in 30 minutes or less, visit TotalHealthMasteryUSA.com. The results and benefits of our training program are only available to members of our private association.